Okay. Live. Okay, and we are live. Okay, it's been a couple of days, guys. It's good to see everyone back on the channel. So, guys, welcome back to the show. So, on tonight's show, of course, we will be covering the latest on the takeover. We will be, of course, looking at Mason Mount, the updates that we have received today. And across the last couple of days, everything does seem to be pointing towards Mason Mount coming to Manchester United sooner rather than later. Other news as well, the latest on David De Gea. His new contract has not been signed yet. Amid talk, he could potentially be looking at a move back to Spain, and a new goalkeeper coming in as well. All of that will be covered and much, much more on the show, of course. So who's in the comments? We can see Big T down there saying, here we go. It could have been Fabrizio Romano, but it's Big T himself. Good to see you back on the show, man. Thank you very much for joining in with us tonight. So, let's talk about the latest about this takeover. So it came out across the weekend now from various sources. Some of them very reliable, some of them not particularly reliable, but there was a general consensus across the weekend from reporters such as Laurie Whitwell of The Athletic, from David Ornstein of The Athletic, all about the latest bid by Sheikh Jassim, the bid that went in last week, the one that meant that he said after Friday there would be no more negotiations, the last bid on his side. And there does seem to have been a bit of development. There does seem to have been some stuff happening, which I think is very interesting. And a lot of that is stuff that has been covered already. You know, we were looking, of course, at Al Khalifi of PSG. He has been involved in this. Of course, as we knew, this would never just be a private individual taking on United. This was always going to be something along the lines of the Qataris getting involved with the club. Now, in terms of the takeover, this is the very latest of what we have. Who else is in there? Sean Forsyth saying send De Gea to Saudi League. There's one mistake a game, and there's a cheers that, man. Yes, so this is coming in from Ben Jacobs saying neither Sheikh Jassim nor Jim Ratcliffe will be placed in a period of exclusivity, with the process entering its final weeks. Both groups are deep in talks and ready to win. So I think this is a development, because all last week we heard Qatar were essentially out of the race, that the last bid going in from Sheikh Jassim was him trying to exit the deal and the negotiations on his terms, and that was what he wanted to do. Now that doesn't seem to have been the case. It does seem to be that Qatar have come in with a bid that has got the Glazers thinking. Their very set position on Jim Ratcliffe does seem to be a little bit more questionable, and there does seem to be a little bit of potential here for Qatar to come in and make a deal happen. We can see Rajat is in the comments, and hopefully Qatar will take control of the club. Thank you very much for that, man. It could happen, and we are asking you guys in the poll down in the comments tonight. So simple question as always: will Sheikh Jassim win the takeover race? Yes or no? That is what we're asking you guys tonight. And of course, already Sheikh Jassim well in front. It's been a common theme across the channel and across online communities. A lot of people think Qatar are going to do it somehow, and I think there does seem to be credence to this. There does definitely seem to be a bit of Glazer interest in this latest bid. Now, we have heard for weeks that Jim Ratcliffe's bid was their preferred bid, that it could be the one eventually that could be accepted. Hasn't quite happened. Rajat is saying, could Man United sign 2 out of Kudos, Caicedo or Mount? Is that realistic to get done? I mean, it completely is realistic. It's whether or not we get it done. I think we will certainly sign at least one midfielder this summer. Do expect potentially a free transfer as well. Yuri Tillemans could have been a decent option, but he's gone to Aston Villa, of course. Adrian Rabiot is another potential one as well. So there is definitely going to be interest in midfield coming across the rest of the summer. Lucky Singh's in there saying yes to Sheikh Jassim winning the takeover race. Good to see you back on here as well, man. Much appreciate all the support, of course. So we do have some talk coming out, and this is coming from Ben Jacobs again. Now, this is something that I am very on board with, something that I think needs to happen, should have happened a long time ago. And they basically are coming out and saying if the takeover is successful, Qatar will conduct a 100 review day of the board and decide who has to stay and who has to go. I think that's a very good way to work it, if they do manage to buy the club, because as we know, there has been yes men at this club for 10 plus years. We've had Ed Woodward, we've had Richard Arnold, John Murda, all incompetent guys. Matt Judge as well, handling negotiations. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Board incompetencies are one of the worst things at Manchester United, because it's not that we haven't spent money. It hasn't been that we've tried to shy away from spending money, but the money has been so poorly spent for years upon years that now all of a sudden it's becoming a massive issue. And I think you can see, like, we have spent something similar to what Man City have in across the last 10, 15 years. They've just won the treble, and we've won a Carabao Cup this season. It's progress, but I mean, we have a long way to go to get to that level. Who else is down there in the comments? Sean is saying, 2 sets of smart businessmen allegedly, and they don't realise they're being played by Rain Group to drive up the price in a bidding war for the Glazers. I mean, I think they definitely will be aware of it. I mean, I would be surprised if they weren't. It does come down to that. Like, the Glazers are just playing the two sides off each other. That's been the whole game. It's been Jim Ratcliffe puts a bid in. All of a sudden, Qatar come in with a bid, and it's just driving the price up. What would settle it very quickly would be if one of the parties dropped out of the race. If Ratcliffe dropped out very quickly, all of a sudden, Glazers have no choice but to accept Qatar's offer. And I think that's kind of what Sheikh Jassim's ultimatum that he gave on Friday was all about, because he probably realizes if he threatens to walk away, then all of a sudden the Glazers game, it's over, because then they have to settle down on a price with Ratcliffe, and they didn't want that. So all of a sudden now this bid has been talked about as being very enticing to a lot of them, and I think that is definitely something interesting, definitely something worth keeping an eye on. Who else is down in the comments? Lucky Singh is saying Darcy, Brian and Edwards, they all want out. No 4 years. Yeah, I mean, completely sell up now, man. Absolutely. Lucky Singh is saying Man City act properly, and Big T is saying Jim originally wanted to buy the whole club. He switched to a deal to keep the Glazers, thinking that's what they wanted. If the Glazers decide they want to sell the whole club, Jim will make an offer to do so. I mean, he might do. I think that's a brilliant point. I think Radcliffe is a smart enough guy. I know he probably does realize that he can't financially compete if Qatar go all in on this. Now, Qatar don't seem to be willing to. This was something I thought would happen for a long time, was eventually the Qataris would just go, right, we've had enough of this process. Here is an offer you cannot refuse. Give us the club. But they haven't gone in with that, and I think that's what's kept Ratcliffe in the race for as long as what he has been. I think it will be interesting to see what happens across the next couple of weeks. Who else has done the comments there as well? Lucky Singh says, thing is about Darcy, Brian and Edward, they want to move on in the future. Yeah, I mean, that was always the talk. That was always the rumor, the spin. What we have heard the whole time was that essentially Joel and Avram Glazer, the two Glazers who own the largest percentages of the Glazer shares, they're the guys who want to stay. They want to stay on at the club, continue to make money. The rest of them have wanted to go out. So that has caused a divide in the Glazer family, and that's what Ratcliffe has been playing off, and I think he has been smart in doing that. I think he's a very astute businessman. And I think Qatar, I think they're starting to realize now that they have to play the game. They cannot just go in with good bids. They have to play the Glazers game, and I think that's what the Friday ultimatum was about. That's why the bid was left on the table, and I think it's very much a case now where they're saying, if we walk away, you have to take whatever Radcliffe is offering. And I think the Glazers are panicking, and I think that's why they're going out and being enticed by this bid, because it is a massive bid. It's a massive amount of money. It is the most amount ever offered for a sporting club across any sport as well. Who else is down there in the comments? We can see Ashid is saying good evening everyone, thank you very much for joining with us. Good evening to you as well, man. Lucky Singh is saying Sheikh Jassim is going to go all in, and Big T says Qatar have shown their hand early on. Jim knows Qatar and doesn't want to pay much more. I think Jim could still top the Qatars with one last offer. I think it's a potential. I mean, he definitely has the money for it. It all depends on what Radcliffe wants to do. I think at some point he probably will realize that it's going to be a question of this will not make good business sense, but it's going to be a personal thing. If he wants to do it for the personal reasons, then he might go in for it. If he's looking at the club as a business, as something to add to a portfolio, he's not going to go extremely beyond. And I think that's the biggest takeaway from this. I definitely thought at one point that there will come a stage where the Qataris would eventually just offer up the money. But in terms of what we're asking, are they in the lead or not? The big question, what everybody's looking to know, I think what's happened is Ratcliffe was ahead. This latest bid has pulled Qatar pretty much level again with where INEOS bid has been. And we see that there in the comment down there as well. let me just see, from Ben Jacobs saying, when he says neither Sheikh Jassim nor Jim Ratcliffe will be in an exclusive period, that means the Glazers' initial plan of exclusive bidders and taking a bidder off to one side, private negotiations with them, that has kind of failed, that has kind of collapsed. And as well as that, when Ben Jacobs is saying both groups are deep in talks and being ready to win and compete, I think he's looking at it in the sense that Qatar have managed to basically play the Glazers game. Now, it has been a lot of intrigue, a lot of gaming from all sides, from the Glazers, from the Rain Group, to Ratcliffe, to Qatar. We have seen this throughout the entirety of this takeover. We've seen it with Qatar going above the Rain Group, going directly to the Glazer family for a bid. We've seen it with Jim Ratcliffe offering to let Joel and Avram stay on and buy up the other Glazer family shares. I think everybody is kind of posturing. There's been a lot of intrigue, a lot of movement. It has been a very intense bidding period. Certainly a very long one as well. Who's down in the comments? Let's see. Rajat is saying maybe not. Red Devil is saying, would you like Qatar or Sir Jim? I think personally, in my opinion, either will be better than the Glazers. It does not get worse, in my opinion. That is where I've always sort of stood. I think in terms of trying to compete with Man City, I don't know if we can do that with Jim Ratcliffe. I think we might need the backing of Qatar. For as rich as United are, the amount of money we need to spend to get this club back to where it needs to be in terms of stadium development, training ground development, in terms of investing in the squads across all of the different sections of the club, the scouting, the board of directors, the women's team, the youth team. I think what we have to do is go out and invest so much money in a very short period of time if we want to have any ambitions of catching up with Man City. It's whether or not we can do that. And I don't know if Ratcliffe is going to do that. Like, obviously people point to Nice. PSG are not a well-run club either, in my opinion, but I think what we have to do is look at where United are, look at what we need as a club, and make our judgments off that. I certainly think Qatar have a lot to offer this club. I think if you're not overly concerned with the idea of state ownership of a football club, Qatar is definitely the way to go. And I think that what Qatar can offer to this club, and I've said this for weeks upon weeks on the channel, what Ratcliffe could probably do in 5 years, Qatar could probably do in 1 year. And that's my genuine thoughts on that one. Who else is down there? Sean is saying Glazers want a full sale while Ratcliffe would want to get control. It's basically an investment offer. If the Glazers wanted more, the US hedge funds would still be in the running. Yes, I think it's all coming down to the best bid for them as much as it is a lump sum of money. I think, hold on a second. I think in terms of the actual hedge funds, we've seen Elliott Group, we've seen Apollo linked. I think they will want the club to be run as a business, and the Glazers will not want that, because that could be another group of vultures getting their hands on the golden egg, on the golden goose. That is what they're looking for. So I do think the Glazers will want to avoid that. Who else is down there? Ashade is saying Manchester still airing on TV, had enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm not watching any of that City treble parade. I'm not going to look at it. Like, I do think it was very disappointing. Of course, we all watched the Champions League final, I'm sure, on YouTube. Absolutely no mention from BT Sport on 115 charges of financial fair play breaches. But we do move on. Who else is down in the comments? Let's see. Rajat is saying Jadon is going to Tottenham. There was, of course, talk about Jadon Sancho going to Tottenham Hotspur, and it could potentially form part of any Harry Kane deal. Personally, I don't think it will happen. I think Sancho will be here for at least another season myself. Lucky Singh says, hope they sell up now. Absolutely. Big T says, Nice is Jim's business and United would be his passion. He'd be running United better than Nice. I mean, I certainly do agree. I don't think that United would be run like Nice. And I don't think Nice is the most fair argument to make, all things considered. I think when we look at Qatari ownership at PSG, the money invested, the players brought in, it has been a failure. Now, I do think a lot of that is what they've tried to do at PSG, go for the big star signings. It hasn't worked out. But I do think United are our own club. We have our own players, our own staff, and our own culture. I think we are not a team that goes out and buys massive Galactico-style signings. I think we will try to run ourselves more as a football club as we want to be. Who else is down there? Lucky says, congratulations on... Nah. And results, nah. And Ashade is saying you're green and yellow on display in the background, liking it. Yeah, man, I always keep it up there. It's like on one of my retro shirts. I basically just have a wardrobe behind me, so I thought like putting some shirts and stuff on it would be a nicer background. He else is down in the comments, Rajat saying Jim Ratcliffe is more of a nascent Chelsea fan. Don't need him down United. Get away from us. Okay. Um yeah, I mean, there is of course the Chelsea fan links. I don't think you necessarily have to be a fan of a club or born into a club to necessarily be a good owner. I think the same applies, for players and stuff. Like United's all-time top goal scorer, Rooney, lifelong Everton fan, still is to this day. I think what you do have to worry about is there was definitely elements of insincerity with it, and we do have to look out. We have to see what's going to happen with Radcliffe. The one thing I do not like overall about his bid, now I think in terms of what he could offer to the club, getting rid of the Glazers, definitely a good thing, will be a better owner. I'm not 100% sold on the lack of pledges, the lack of a clear direction that he wants to bring the club in. I think Qatar have really nailed their colours to the mast. We can see what they want to do. We know what they want to do. We've seen this reported all of last week. Something they felt really strongly about was going out, managing to invest in the team. They're very concerned about the transfer window coming up. They want United to be competing, and they don't think we can do at the moment. So I do think we need to improve on that sense. Lucky Singh says, I would never trust Radcliffe. I think a lot of people are. I think it's an interesting one, and it all depends on how the fan base reacts as a whole. There's a lot of people backing Qatar. Everybody has their own opinions, of course. But I wonder, and it is a question, if Radcliffe did manage to win the club, win the race by Manchester United, would there be protests against Radcliffe? Like, would that happen? I think that could be interesting to see. Shade is saying Qatar will take full control of United 100%. Rajat is saying won't be challenging with the Glazers staying. Yeah, I mean, definitely not. I think any success we've had under Glazer ownership was done basically because the team was already assembled before the Glazers came. Ferguson had Ronaldo and Rooney, Michael Carrick, Rio Ferdinand. Players like that were already at the club before the Glazers came. So I don't think we actually can be successful on the pitch under the Glazer ownership. I just don't think we can compete. We do not have the ambition. I mean, if you look at City's ambition, look at how they've backed Pep Guardiola to the hilt. I think Erik Ten Hag deserves the same amount of backing from the board, and it's whether or not he is going to get that. So we're going to really quickly move on, guys. We're going to have a quick look at some transfer news coming in as well. So up first, of course, it's going to be Mason Mount. So Mason Mount, a player very, very heavily linked to United. An awful lot of strong links coming out for weeks upon weeks. In terms of latest news, we have some updates from Rob Dawson, something worth covering and worth talking about on the show, of course, and that is Manchester United are considering to make their opening bid for Mason Mount this week, according to Rob Dawson of ESPN. Let's see who else is down the comment. Big T says clubs are nothing without the sport. All the top clubs being bought up by wealthy states is not good for the game. Wages and transfer prices need to be going down, not up. Yeah, completely agree. Ashid says Carrick was a good player, so underrated. Yeah, absolutely fantastic player. So in terms of Mason Mount, it does look like a bid will be going in very shortly. That is according to Rob Dawson of ESPN. Now, I've done a video. I dropped it actually just this evening on Mason Mount. I think looking at what he can offer to this team, this sort of intelligent movement, his through balls are fantastic. He can find himself in space in the penalty box, and he can be a good finisher as well. He can turn up in big matches. Got an assist in the Champions League final. He scored against Real Madrid, of course, in the Bernabeu as well. So definitely a player who has something to offer this club. Definitely someone I think Erik Ten Hag could get the most out of. I think when we look at what Ten Hag has done with Marcus Rashford this season, I think he could definitely do something similar with Mason Mount. And I think in terms of the overall balance to the team, it would definitely be a very nice addition. We'd be looking probably at a 4-3-3. So we'd have Bruno on the left and we would have Mason Mount on the right. And I'm sure you guys know most of our best play comes down the left-hand side, be it Bruno, Rashford, Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez building up on that side, Christian Eriksen drifting over to that side. We are very, very left heavy. And if Mason Mount comes in, I think that could be a nice addition on the right. Would mean that we are a more balanced, a more unpredictable team. So yes, so in terms of other news coming out, Fabrizio Romano has confirmed Like United have confirmed to Mason Mount their intention is to sign him. A contract proposal is ready, and they know he's prepared to say yes to it. And they have told him to wait. Now we assume that is in regards, of course, to a bid going in with Chelsea to have that accepted. I think that will be good. He also done there. Rajat is saying go get Kudus. I really like Mohamed Kudus, a really interesting player. Very, very good technical player, really versatile as well. I think he would offer a lot to this team. In terms of Mason Mount, where do we stand on this? I think it wouldn't have been a player I expected us to sign. It wouldn't have been a player I thought, let's go into this window, let's go get Mason Mount. But I think it could work. I think he could offer quite a bit to this team. Big T says, Lucky Singh, good news. It's been reported Pep will leave. Yeah, that is probably good news for everybody, is that Pep is apparently going to leave City after his contract expires in 2 years' time. But yeah, in terms of Mason Mount, definitely a player to keep an eye on, definitely one that seems to be hotting up. There is big reports coming out from very reliable sources. United looking at a bid this week. Romano saying that a contract proposal is all but agreed. So I would take that as good progress on that deal. Ashida saying Mason Mount is a done deal. I think it might be heading that way. Biggest thing is always getting players' approval. If the player wants to come, I think that you're always in with a very, very good chance of signing them. Based on that, I think that's one of the most important things. We've seen last season, of course, De Jong didn't want to come. We had agreed a deal with Barcelona months upon months and all summer long. But if he doesn't want to come, he's not going to come. That's just the way it goes. But I think Mount will be a United player. Lucky Singh says, I'm just focused on getting the right players who will help us. Yeah, I think that's the most important thing. I think it's very nice to go and, we would all love United to go out and buy like a Harry Kane and Osimhen, Frankie de Jong, Kim Min-jae, Diogo Costa, and other players like that. I think that is a dream for everybody, but I think in terms of players coming in, if it makes the team work better, I think you're on for a winner. I think that's the big thing, is when you have 11 players who all complement each other and it gets better on the pitch, I think that's where you're going to get the real big performances, the real big improvement in your team. Other than that, we do have some more transfer news coming in. Of course, as always, pretty much going to be daily transfer news as always across the channel. Everybody knows it is the transfer window. Everybody knows it's that time of year when reporters are linking us to every player who has ever kicked a football in their life. But one that definitely does seem to be heating up is going to be Rasmus Hojlund. Now, there has been some interesting updates come out today. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong one. There. Oh, well, that's on twice. Apologies for that. Yeah, so Rasmus Højlund, player heavily linked to Manchester United. Now, very interestingly, today he has managed to join SEG. Now, SEG is the talent agency who represents Erik Ten Hag. We have heard reports, of course, about Erik Ten Hag potentially having video calls. Those have been rubbished by Højlund himself, but he has come out with some interesting, some very, very interesting comments today. So Rasmus Højlund on Manchester United is a huge club, so I must have done something right if they want me. My goal is to reach the top shelf of football, and you can say Manchester United is that. Who else has done there? We can see Big T saying from Mount to Mbappe if Alfani gets his wish. I mean, it'd be interesting. I don't know if we'll go for Mbappe. I think, certainly for me, Mount seems to be a assured deal. Big T says we've been linked with over 100 players. If you look back from the start of the season, yeah, man, it is ridiculous. Lucky Singh says, what about Sebastian Haller? I don't expect us to go in for Sebastian Haller. I think he will be at Dortmund at least for another season or two. But I think the big one is going for Højlund. I think Højlund looks to be the striker signing this summer. I don't think we're going to go for Harry Kane. I would love us to go get Gonzalo Ramos. I think he is fantastic. I think it's coming down to price, and I think the budget is the biggest constraining factor on Manchester United going out and investing this season. If we need a striker, we also need a midfielder. I definitely think we need another goalkeeper. That's going to be a lot of budget, and I don't think 100 million will do that. So I think in terms of smart signings, I think there definitely is some to be made. Rajat is saying Sheikh Jassim Sheikh Jassim, come on, win over Avram and Joel. I think how you win over Avram and Joel is you make them the best offer for themselves. Lucky Singh is saying, I like someone who can pass the ball. We have to play. And Jared says, Sheikh Jassim is the best option. Thanks very much for that, man. I don't know if I've seen you on the channel before, but welcome if you are new. Very nice to have you with us, of course. In terms of Rasmus Hojlund, definitely a player we do seem to want this season. I think it's interesting that he has signed up with Erik Ten Hag's agency. And that's definitely getting very interesting. Sky Sports have come out with a story today saying Manchester United have approached Atalanta for their striker Rasmus Højlund as well. So definitely movement happening on this. This does seem to be a potential deal. Now, it has been said before, Erik Ten Hag wants as much signings done as possible before we go off on pre-season tour. Could we see that with Højlund? Could we see that with Mason Mount? That's a good question. I think we could. I think both deals seem to have a relatively straightforward conclusion. That if we can agree a deal with Chelsea for Mason Mount, I think that will be done very quickly. If we can go to Atalanta with a bid of around 45 million, we'll probably get Højlund very quickly. And I think that's too quick for our transfers. Who else is down there? CR7's in the comments as well. Good to see you, man. And Lucky Singh says Rashford can support Højlund's game. Yes, will be interesting. And Big T says Galactico signings only seem to work for Madrid. I mean, yeah, even at that, the Galactico team, as good as it was, didn't seem to overall win a lot. But I think in a nice mix. Certainly Madrid do seem to get the most out of their star players. Who else is down there as well? Aliu says yes, he will. I'm assuming that's in terms of Sheikh Jassim winning the takeover race. I think could be interesting. Something we will move on to real quick, and it is just because the overlay is up on my screen, and that's David De Gea. So we are asking the question: will David De Gea stay or will he leave? That's a big one. So there is 3 stories really breaking on this today, and I think there definitely must be something kind of connected with all those points. There we go, Double A's in the comments. Good to see you, man. Thank you very much for joining in with us. So, according to Mark Ogden, David De Gea's contract is expiring at the end of the month. And he could appeal to clubs in Saudi Arabia who are looking for big, high-profile free agent signings. Now, it came out last week that this was potentially discussed. It was shot down by David De Gea, but the key point in that little snippet of news that we have got, that little slither, is that it is still expiring at the end of the month. Erik Ten Hag, despite the fact he seems to want to keep De Gea, we haven't agreed a deal. It has not been signed off yet. Who else is down there? Irfan is saying David out. Us about De Gea. I think a lot of people are in that boat. I think people would like to see another goalkeeper. So moving on from that, of course, we have Matt Law of the Daily Telegraph saying Manchester United want to buy a new goalkeeper. So all of a sudden we're looking at David De Gea, his contract expiring, not signed off. Now United are looking for another goalkeeper. We ask ourselves, who could this goalkeeper be? Who could we potentially be moving for? And according to where's this news coming from? It's coming from the Mufceteers. They're saying United are exploring the possibility of a 50 million deal for Diogo Costa, and I think that's a very interesting one because, and I'll tell you guys this, Porto need money. Porto need around 50 million by the end of the month to balance the books. Their main sellable asset is going to be Diogo Costa. United are looking at goalkeeper. United are interested in Diogo Costa. This could be something that happens potentially. I think it could be a brilliant signing. I don't know if it's going to happen. I think it could still be in the realms of fantasy, but I would absolutely love this signing. Who else is down there? Irfan is saying, I'm happy for Sancho to go. He is a big flop. I mean, Sancho could go, no doubt about it in my mind. We could see that potentially happen. Big T says, I think he goes, deserves much better than number 2 just for his service alone. I mean, I agree with that. I think he probably will have ambitions. There was rumours come out today as well that he would consider a move back to Spain if that was a possibility. Irfan is absolutely right. Inter Milan do need money. It does seem like their goalkeeper, Onana, will be leaving, potentially to Chelsea. Lucky Singh says, first sell McTominay. I think McTominay should be sold. I think he's not a bad player, but I just think in terms of overall value, if he's probably worth £25 million, and I think we could use that money to invest in our squad. And McTominay, I don't think, is ever going to fit in with what Erik Ten Hag's team is going to be. Lucky Singh says, sell him to Aston Villa or Newcastle. Newcastle were interested. I think they're a little bit put off by United's price tag. Was talk of West Ham and Everton potentially being interested as well. I think 27 million is probably fair enough. I think that's a good deal. Big T saying Sancho is young and will get better under Ten Hag. His player is not on the left, though. No, his future is not on the left. I think he's better on the right-hand side. I think it will be interesting to see what happens long-term between Anthony, Sancho on that right. I think Rashford is pretty much certain to play on the left. I think our left wing will be next season Rashford first choice, Garnacho second choice. I think that is the pecking order on the left-hand side. On the right, it will be interesting between Anthony and Sancho. Neither had a brilliant season last year. I think Anthony was better across the campaign, but certainly there is a lot of room for improvement with both players. I think Sancho does have a potential avenue into this team, and it will be interesting to see what happens. Irfan is saying Deschamps Bernard, very good player to go today. Yes, I know he was quite highly thought of by a lot of fans who do watch the academy matches, and Deschamps Bernard, I think, he had a pretty good loan with Hull in the Championship last season, I think, as well. So it is a shame to see a young player go, of course. I wish him all the best, of course, and I hope that he does get himself a club this summer and starts to build a career for himself. I think coming through at United, it's always going to be very, very difficult. I think the way the club is run now, the way it's going to be going, either with Ratcliffe or with Sheikh Jassim coming in, I think big money will be spent on the first team. If you're going to be a first team player as an academy product, you're going to have to be something special. You're going to have to be Garnacho level, or maybe like a Kobe Mania or somebody like that. I think there are no guarantees in this, and I think only the very, very best players are going to make it at the club. But that doesn't mean the academy has failed. I think whilst the academy might not be producing as much as, say, it did in the 1990s with the class of 92, and even beyond that as well, I think the big success is if a player goes on to have a career in professional football. I think that is an academy product, an academy success. So, when talking about the goalkeeping situation, I think it's very interesting because I think whilst Porto need the money and whilst United are looking at goalkeeper, 50 million will be a big investment. If Diogo Costa comes in for that much, David De Gea will not be first choice, in my opinion. No doubt about it. Who else is down there? Big T is saying, is it worth having a punt trying Sancho as a second striker if he don't sign too? He doesn't run back. I see him hanging around the goal poaching. I mean, it could be interesting. He did score a very nice goal in one of United's last matches of the season. Quite predatory, all things considered. I didn't think he had that sort of knowledge in his game where the ball was going to drop. I can't quite remember what match it was. It was one of the home matches. It might have been Wolves, maybe. But it was a good goal from him. It will be interesting. I think we've seen him do bits in the number 10 position. I think what Sancho's biggest problem is he doesn't have a guaranteed spot. He doesn't have that one spot across the front line where when he's fit he plays. I think Rashford, you go, yes, that is your left winger. I think when Anthony's fit, Ten Hag says, this is who I want on the right. When Bruno is available, it's Bruno through the middle. And it's where does Sancho fit in that? Is he a left mid? Is he a right mid? Does he play through the middle? Does he play off a striker? What does he do? I think he is a little bit unfortunate as well, all things considered, because I think he's a player not blessed with amazing pace. Definitely very good in tight areas. In matches where we control a lot more of the ball, he is more productive, of course. And I think as United improve as a team, as Erik Ten Hag gets more of a say on this team, how we're going to be run, holding the ball higher up the pitch, Sancho could be more important as well. Who else is down there? Irfan says United need younger players. Yes, completely agree. Jared is saying United can sign Onana from Inter. He's a very confident goalkeeper. Absolutely. I thought he was absolutely brilliant in that Champions League final. Really, really top level distribution. And I think he would be a great goalkeeper for us. Who else is down there as well? Afosu is saying yes. Irfan is saying Felix. Is that Yao Felix? Oh, Felix Nkeka. Is he the Wolfsburg guy? I think he's going to Newcastle. Was talk of United being in for him. Probably just a last ditch, throw United's name in to try boost the price up just a little bit. Ashid says it was the Fulham match. Yes, thank you very much for that, man. It was the Fulham match, last match of the season. Big T says Sancho's more of a goal threat than Weghorst. Yeah, I mean, I think I would probably be more of a goal threat than Weghorst. I think looking at the chances we got, I mean, I've said this loads of times. Bruno Fernandes had the most big chances created in the Premier League, and he got 8 assists. And De Bruyne, with less big chances, had 16 assists. I mean, you can tell which player is setting up Weghorst and which player is setting up Erling Haaland. I mean, but no doubt in my mind, there is a quality in this team to go on and really push on. I think a top level goal scorer will take us to another level. Who else is down there in the comments? Irfan is saying Ahmad, Zidane, Garnacho will play more next season. I think Ahmad depends on what happens. I think how good he was at Sunderland, I think that was brilliant, and I wouldn't want to take that away from him. I think what I would like to see is if he's going to be guaranteed minutes, if he's going to play regularly, I would love to keep him. I think if he's going to be playing an hour maybe in a League Cup match once a month, I don't think that's great for his development. Lucky Singh says Barria and Lavia are so important to sign. Yeah, I mean, I would absolutely love to see Lavia. I think fantastic player. Definitely. I think he will leave Southampton this season. I don't know if he's going to wait for Man City to come next year when their buyback clause kicks in. I think he will be a brilliant signing for us. Might not be exactly what we need, but I think long term at his age, fantastic, absolutely brilliant player, and he could be one of the best in his position in years to come. Will be definitely very interesting to watch his development, see how he progresses as a player throughout the years. And yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is. I just love a deep line, like, sort of playmaker. Somebody gets on the ball deep, wins the ball back, gets his team moving up the pitch. Something about powerful players in midfield definitely does appeal to me. Lucky Singh says we have to sign someone like him. Yeah, I mean, I think we need more legs in the midfield. I think Mount offers a lot of that going forward. I think he's a good presser of the ball. He's very good with his movement. You go back and watch, not last season, of course, season before, one of the best players for Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel. What was it, like 13 goals, 10 assists? Brilliant. Big T says, did you see Brandon Williams trying his hardest to impress his fans, outing Ferdinand? I mean, yeah, I mean, thing is, I mean, it was entertaining. I mean, it was funny when it happened. I think all things considered, we're looking. I don't know why he's going after Rio Ferdinand. I mean, Rio Ferdinand is a pundit. I mean, he's not going to go out too far either way. They never do. I mean, they always are trying to make some sort of a balanced show, all things considered on BT, etc. So, I mean, it's not too big of an issue for me. Irfan says David will go for free. I mean, he hasn't signed the deal yet. The deal is not signed, so there is only what, 17 days, 18 days. I mean, anything could happen. Omari's in down there as well. No chance for De Jong coming through for us at all. Oh man, I would absolutely love Frankie De Jong. I mean, last season I was so excited when we were linked to him. A player who I've really liked watching over the years. I think he would be brilliant in this team. I just don't think he wants to leave Barcelona. I think that was made abundantly clear. I think if it came down to Champions League, we would probably go back in for him, but I think he doesn't want to leave Barcelona. And also, is Fred staying? That's an interesting one. United, of course, have a 1-year extension they can trigger on Fred's contract, so if United want to keep him, we can do that. There was talk of Marco Silva looking him at Fulham. I don't know why we would let Fred go for free. I think if we need to sell players, and Fulham want him, we could trigger that extension and sell Fred to Fulham, if that's what we want to do. I mean, there's going to be money in it for us, and if we need money this summer to invest in the team, that just makes more sense to do. Irfan's saying Caicedo, oh man, Caicedo, there is big talk about United potentially being interested in him. A lot of teams are as well. Arsenal were linked, Chelsea heavily linked, United as well. Now, Moses Caicedo, he is one of the most frustrating cases, in my opinion, because all you guys remember, we could have bought the guy for what, like 4 million under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer 2 seasons ago. We could have bought him for next to nothing, but because of a disagreement over agent fees, we didn't buy him. Now, if we want him, it's 80 million plus. It's going to be ridiculous, man. Big T says, Fred brings energy when you need him. Keep him. Yes, I think that's something that Fred does bring. I think Fred is a very professional guy. He doesn't kick up a fuss. He doesn't get overly annoyed if he's not playing. He comes in, he does his job, he works hard for that team. There's no ego with Fred, and I think every team needs players like that. Players who, they're not the best in terms of their overall quality. They don't demand to start every match, but they're always fit, they're always ready, and they will always do the running work for you. Lucky Singh says Fred, Casemiro, Mason Mount, Lavia, or Mohamed Kudus. I mean, it could be a lovely midfield. Of course, adding Eriksen in there, Bruno Fernandes, that could be a nice midfield. I do wonder if we bought Kudus, or if we went after him, where he would fit in, because of course, he can play in the number 8 position, he can play in number 10, he can play off the flanks as well, he can even play as a false 9 sort of as well. We've seen him do it all for Ajax. A very versatile player. I think will be interesting to see where he would fit in potentially. Jared is saying in midfield we need someone like Caicedo to partner with Casemiro. It will be a very strong midfield to break. Yes, absolutely. And I think when we seen talk about Declan Rice coming to United, I think that would be an interesting signing. I think he will go to Arsenal. That's what I think will happen. But I think this season you see a player who's developed a lot of box-to-box skills, someone who can go forward more often. And I think putting that alongside Casemiro, you would have a very, very strong base. Big T says, would you take Kessie out of Barcelona? They're willing to sell and need to raise cash. I mean, I think Kessie is a good player. I liked him when he was at AC Milan. I thought he did look like a good player. I know it hasn't gone completely to plan at Barcelona for him. I think all things considered, he wasn't really a Barcelona type midfielder. He is more of a sitting player. He wasn't going to come in do the job that Sergio Busquets did, where he sat back and played 500 passes a match. But I think Kessie does have a lot of positive attributes. I think as a potential backup to Casemiro, maybe. And I think if you put him alongside Casemiro, I think that's a good, strong partnership, just like we were talking about there. So definitely potential there. Can see some more people joining in, guys, so welcome to the channel and welcome to the stream if you guys are new. We are asking you guys in the comments down below, will Sheikh Jassim will win the takeover race? So at the moment we have 93% of you guys are saying yes to Sheikh Jassim winning the race. 7% are saying no. But if you guys have any thoughts or want to let me know what you guys think, get them down in the comments. Let me know what you think. Fully interactive channel and community as always on the show. Satwant is in there saying glazers out and Qatar are on the way. Thank you very much for that, man. I think it will be an interesting week. I hope to have some sort of indication as to where this is going by the end of the week. I don't know about you guys, but I am fed up with this. I mean, I want to see the development. I want to see things moving along. I will be the first person to admit this. Like, I mean, I am quite an impatient guy. I want to see things move forward. I want to at least know we're going in the right direction. I hate the fact we've stood still on this for so long, and I want to see some progress on it. I'm hoping to see some this week. Of course, City Parade going on in a thunderstorm, which is fantastic. I'm sure you guys are enjoying that. Satwank is saying again, Qatar are on the way. Thank you very much for that, man. And the Glazers out, of course. Thank you very much on that one. Definitely, Glazers out all the way. Need those guys completely out of this club. Lucky Singh is saying, sell United now. I mean, I just want it done, man. I just want to see it finished. Just get rid of this. Like, I mean, once the takeover is done, we can start to move on. And that is something I actually do want to cover with you guys on the show real quick. So there was news coming out from Simon Jones of the Daily Mail. Now, he was saying any United transfer activity is expected to be delayed by the takeover talks. Although there is talk of an imminent move from Mason Mount, this is expected to be a lower offer. So, I mean, this is what this takeover is doing to us, man. We can't even buy players. We're going to put a bid in that we know is going to get rejected, which isn't going to be fun. Big T says, talking of being impatient, where's that Discord invite, lol? Man, I am working on it, I do promise. Do what? I think I'll probably have it ready tomorrow, so I will post it on tomorrow's stream, of course. At the moment, I'm just needing to write up the rules and the welcome messages, and then we're good to go with that one. And of course, the Discord will be free for everybody to join in, and we'll get transfer news in there, Match Day Talk, everything you guys need to know as well, and any channel updates coming up as well. Who else is down there? Ashade is saying Glazers will accept the Qatar bid. I mean, last week I didn't think so. I said very, very clearly on last Wednesday night, I said if we do not hear word by Thursday, that the bid is being accepted, we have to assume that Ratcliffe has won the race. There was no talk on Thursday. There was very little talk on Friday. And then over the weekend, we had news breaking from the likes of Laurie Whitwell, from the likes of David Ornstein, of course, that PSG's Al Khalifi had been involved with the Glazers. They had asked him to go to Sheikh Jassim to put another bid in. All of a sudden, there's talk now of the Glazers considering that bid. And I think that's interesting. I think that is something to be asking ourselves about. Is something happening? I think both sides are playing a very intricate game. The Glazers are playing their game, trying to get the best bid for themselves. Of course, Qatar are trying to play a game now. Their threat to walk away has basically left the Glazers in the position that, should they have let Qatari walk away without any sort of a bite at the bait that was thrown out, that Ratcliffe could basically offer whatever he wanted, and they would have to accept it. So I think it is interesting. Who else is in there? Lacanio, good to see you, man. What will be United's first signing? All points seems to be like Mason Mount. Is it still around 60 to 70 million? I don't think so. I think we will talk Chelsea down on this. They need to sell. Their squad has about 500 players in it. They're getting dressed in the car park. They're going to have to sell players at some point. Either loan them out or sell them. I think it makes a lot of sense for them to sell Mason Mount. I think you have a guy there, 1 year left on his contract, doesn't want to sign a new deal, wants to come to United seemingly. United want him. I think there will be a deal done eventually. Big T says, which will make you happier? An announcement in the morning for the Qatar to be sold for what's that? Well, make you happier, an announcement on the morning the club has been sold to Qatar, or a deal for Harry Kane. I think it's interesting. I mean, if there was any announcement on the club being sold in the morning, I think that could be a very, very I think that could be very exciting. I think whilst Harry Kane is a brilliant player, and you're looking at one of the best strikers probably in world football right now, and certainly for the last 5, 6, 7 years, I think I would look more long term at this. I think getting this takeover over the line will be a brilliant thing once it's eventually done, because when the Glazers are no longer in control, or if they no longer are at the club, regardless of who wins, that is a big upgrade on what we have had for season after season, year upon year. And I would feel more confident with us moving forward. I think we would be run as a football club. I think we would be working towards backing the manager more. I think we would be working in a more positive light, and United as a business would thrive. And I think if we took the Glazers' debt payments off, we took the money those guys are taking out of the club, that's a lot of money we can suddenly invest. We do have money at the club. There is a lot of debt, a lot of credit, and that's the way we've been running as a club. I mean, I think I read somewhere we owe something like 200 million in player deals that haven't been fully paid off yet, on top of the debt, on top of the dividends and everything else, and the stadium's falling down. I mean, I think that's a bigger thing. I think that's the biggest thing we could do. Who else is down in the comments? Jared is saying United will go back to the glorious days. Irfan is saying Evan Ndika is free to go. Done deal. I mean, Ndika is a good player. I did see talk of him going to Italy, I think. But I mean, on a free, I mean, you're not going to do too much better in the centre back positions. Lucky Singh is saying would take the money now. If you're Avram, I mean, absolutely, I would love Glazers in the morning just to take the deal. Connor Richards on there as well. Good to see you, man. Well, mate, good to see your channel doing so well. Must get you on the podcast sometime. What do you think of Kolo Muani? Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Kolo Muani. I think you're looking at a guy overall really talented, definitely in the Bundesliga. Does offer a lot of what we need, a bit of pace, running in behind, physicality. His hold-up play is very good. His dribbling is very good. I think all things considered, I would probably still take Højlund just about, but I think Muani would be a brilliant addition. I think if you get both, I mean, that's two very good young strikers, and that could definitely sort us out for a long time. And yeah, man, if you want to give me a shout, of course, about the podcast, just drop me a message and we'll sort something out, of course. Lucky Singh saying, I agree, football fan, just to get that pushed through. Irfan is saying as well, Harry Kane see old and slow United have to go out and buy someone younger like Victor Osimhen or Mohamed Kudus. I mean, Harry Kane can still do it, man. I mean, what, like 30 league goals last season for Tottenham? I mean, the guy can do it. There's no doubt in my mind. I think if he comes in, he guarantees 30 goals next season. Guarantees it. I think you're looking at a long-term thing from then. It's how long can he do it? Well, he's had injuries in the past. Will those start to catch up with him? Will his knees start to give out? Or will he continue to go on? Will he play until he's 35, 36, bagging 20, 25 goals a season? I think that's a gamble. I think if you go for a Højlund, a Colomwani, a Gonzalo Ramos, for instance, you're looking at a player who can come in now, probably score 20 goals next season, but they're going to improve. They're in their early 20s and they can continue to develop at the club. He also forgot down in the comments, Lucky saying, get the club fresh. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of cobwebs up this club. There's a lot of guys who've been hanging around for years upon years. I mean, what with Ed Woodward in charge for 8 or 9 years, Matt Judge has only just left the club, Richard Arnold, of course. I mean, we need to freshen up from top to bottom. I think when Qatar were coming out saying they would complete a 100-day review on the ownership of United, on the board, who needs to stay, who needs to go, I think that's something anybody needs to do. I think if you're Jim Ratcliffe and you win, I mean, surely this guy's looking and saying, okay, Richard Arnold and John Murdoch, you both turned up to Barcelona to personally convince Frankie de Jong to sign, and you didn't get it done. You went twice. I mean, what's up with that? And you're looking as well like United needing a goalkeeper, being linked to Jordan Pickford. I mean, I think we need better, and I think that Qatar or Radcliffe, whoever comes in, they will do that 100%. They will want to clear the board, bring their own people in, and get running the club as a football club, because that's what it needs to be. Who else is in there? Our fan is saying Lautaro Martinez. I mean, yeah, Lautaro Martinez, very, very good striker. I think he was really burdened with a poor World Cup performance. He did kind of become a meme. I think that was kind of people trying to look for like a new Higuain type character. He was going to cost Messi another World Cup, but he is genuinely a top level striker. Ashid is saying, what do you think about Paulinho? I like Paulinho as a player. I think very combative, very physical in midfield, makes a lot of tackles, picks up a lot of bookings. I think he's a good player, though he does very well for Fulham. I would like to see him potentially play at a club where he would be more expansive in his possession, where he would be more allowed to break up the pitch and make things happen. I think watching Fulham against smaller teams, he has a very nice impact in those matches going forward. I think when we see him against the bigger teams, understandably so, he is moving, sitting further back the pitch, doing the defensive work. Big T is saying, I'm starting to think the doomsday clock will strike 12 before a decision is made. That's how it feels. I mean, yeah, all this talk of United fans going to line the streets of Manchester set if the Glazers sell. I mean, we all might be going in wheelchairs with walking sticks at this rate. We definitely could be waiting a long, long time on that one happening. Who else is down there? Our fans saying, no way Harry Kane's slowed down now like Liverpool. I mean, I think the guy does guarantee us goals. I think long term, you might be looking in 2 or 3 seasons, worst case scenario, having to buy another striker. And I think that could be unfortunate. I mean, if we go and buy Harry Kane now, right? Put it this way, and in 2 or 3 seasons, his knees start to give out, or we start to want to move to needing a faster striker through the middle. Then if we turn around and go for Gonzalo Ramos or Højlund or Colomwani, you're looking then at those players being worth 100 plus million, where we could have got them this season for, well, Højlund 45 million, Colomwani probably 50, 60 million, Gonzalo Ramos probably 70, 75. I mean, it does make sense to go with the longer term option, all things considered. I think it does make a lot of sense why Erik Ten Hag wants both an experienced striker and a younger striker. I think that is something he will want to bring to the club. Hey, else is down there in the comments. Jinwa is saying it's either Costa or Onana. I think United will go for Onana. I think Onana would have a bit of an advantage as well, all things considered. He has worked with Erik Ten Hag at Ajax. He knows he can fit in his system, and Erik Ten Hag knows the player. So I think that could be an interesting one. Who else is down there? Benson, is it? Daka, we need Benson Daka, sorry. We need Højlund to United because it shows that maybe he could prefer Madrid. I think get these players early. That's something I've said for many years, and Moses Caicedo's an obvious example. Rasmus Hojlund could be another example now. Players who we could have bought for a lot less 2 or 3 seasons ago. We liked them to go to a Benfica or a Dortmund, and all of a sudden they're worth twice as much as what they paid for them. I mean, that's the whole business model of these clubs, and I'm kind of sick of playing this game. I mean, we know that these players are going to be good, so why don't we just go for it? Take a risk. Who else is down there? Innocent is saying we need to sign Kane, guys. He is old on the future. We signed the likes of Ibrahimovic, but it doesn't work out for us. I think long term you definitely have a good argument on Harry Kane. I think a lot of comparisons I've seen online was comparing to, say, Robin van Persie. Now, he would come in with a similar impact. He would score 30 goals, but Van Persie came into a team that already had just challenged for a Premier League and lost on goal difference. I think Harry Kane comes into a team that finished like 12 points behind City last season. I don't know if he breaches that distance. I think Man City, even though they won the league, they could have picked up more points along the season. So I do think maybe more is needed for this team, and I'm not sure if going all out for one big striker who will be not a long-term option is going to be the smartest thing for us long-term. But I mean, the guy does guarantee goals. It will be 30 goals, no doubt about it, next season if we buy him. Ashid says Kim Min-jae. I mean, I would love Kim Min-jae at United. I think looking at how he's played for Napoli this season, we have a guy, an elite level defender, but his progression of the ball through passing, through carries is absolutely exceptional. He had the most passes out of any player in all of Serie A, and you have some serious midfield talent, some serious defensive talent as well in Serie A. He had the most progressions in terms of carrying the ball up the pitch. I mean, this guy can genuinely do it all, and another player who I would love us to sign. It's whether or not we go out and do it. Who else is down there? Big T saying United are exploring a summer move for Bayer Leverkusen Moussa Diaby, according to Daily Mail. I think that's an interesting one. We did see talk come out last week. United wanted a left winger. Now, this came alongside talk of Rashford saying to the press that he thought his career, his future lay as sort of an inside forward, as kind of like in that striking position. I think it's interesting. I think Moussa Diaby is a very, very good player. I don't know if they'll go for him. I know he can play left. I know he can play right. I mean, it's a lot of money. I think it was 65 million that the Daily Mail had reported. I think that's a lot of money for someone who maybe doesn't instantly address what we need. He isn't the striker, isn't the midfield option. I think as a player to bring in, he would be exceptional, but I'm not too sure. Who else is down there? Titania, is it? Could Evan Tony be a great option? He's going to be cheap now, and maybe we buy him as a backup. And Lucky Singh says Urian Timber is an option. I mean, Urian Timber, absolutely exceptional. So good. I mean, the guy could genuinely play midfield if he wanted to. In terms of Ivan Tony, I mean, I think you're talking about an interesting deal there. Could something be done with United? Maybe go in and get him on the cheap because he can't play for Brentford. I mean, that could be interesting. I think it will be interesting. Ivan Toney did promise, of course, that he would do a tell-all interview, so we will be looking out for that one. I'm sure as football fans, even if we're not Brentford fans, I think will be worth keeping an eye on. I think as a player, Ivan Toney, absolutely exceptional. I mean, he scored 20 plus goals 2 seasons in a row for Brentford. That's a big achievement, and he certainly would come in and add a lot to United's team. I think if we went and bought like a Rasmus Højlund or a Mwane or a Gonzalo Ramos and we managed to get Ivan Toney on the cheap, I mean, that could be amazing because there's your experienced striker, there's a young striker. I don't think it happens, though. I think Brentford will keep hold of him, certainly for this season. Irfan says, breaking news, Rice is going to Arsenal. I haven't seen that online there, man, but definitely, I think it will happen. Lucky Singh has said, for me, guys, Højlund, Garnacho, Rashford, Colin Mwane, that could be really nice. 2 strikers, yeah, I mean, we need 2 strikers. We absolutely need 2 strikers. I did a short video today looking at players who could have went, who we probably should sell. And one of them, of course, is going to be Anthony Martial. I think with Weghorst going, Martial, this guy is literally made of glass. I think we need 2 strikers. We can't depend on him. It's whether or not he can be sold. I mean, clubs will look at Anthony Martial and think, why would we buy this guy? He's going to get injured next season 5 times across the year for at least 2 weeks at a time. So I think we need 2 strikers for sure. I think whether or not we get both, it will be interesting. I think if you're talking Moussa Diaby, I mean, if you're going to play Rashford as a striker and bring somebody else in, I mean, there's a potential option. But I think definitely a proper striker. Number 9 needed. Someone to come in, link the forward line, be an aerial threat as well. it will give us so much more dimensions. Who else is down there? Fred is saying Højlund is the best. Thank you very much for the comment, man. Not sure if I've seen you on the channel, so if you are new, welcome. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the stream, of course. Højlund, yeah, I mean, I think you guys can probably tell I really fancy Rasmus Hojlund. I really fancy that guy at United. I just think there's something about the way he plays, his physicality, his pace is fantastic. But something that I have noticed now, watching some of his clips, watching some of the scouting reports other guys have done on him, I think you're looking at a player with elite level movement. And that's something we've sorely lacked. Sorely lacked. Somebody who knows where the ball is going to drop in the penalty box. You cannot teach it. You cannot teach that skill. I mean, Erling Haaland this season, what, like 52 goals? I mean, I guarantee at least 30 of them are the ball has just dropped him in the box. I guarantee it. And that's the sort of stuff you cannot teach. Son is asking Costa or Onana. It's a difficult choice, man. I think Onana is favoured to go to Chelsea at the moment. I think Diogo Costa would sort a lot of what United need. I think you have two exceptional goalkeepers. I mean, if you offered me Costa or you offered me Onana, I genuinely couldn't pick. I think maybe I would go. Onana does have that link with Ten Hag, so I don't know, man. It's hard. Like I think I might just give it to Costa. Maybe I'm a little bit biased on that one, but I think Onana genuinely is exceptional. Such a great goalkeeper. I can see plenty of people are joining in as well. Good to see you guys joining in with us on the channel. So if you guys want to let me know your thoughts on the poll, we are asking you guys tonight, will Sheikh Jassim win the takeover race? Let me know down below. It's a simple yes or no, and that is the poll for tonight. At the moment, 94% of you guys are going for a yes, whilst 6% are saying no. Not too many people are backing Jim Ratcliffe. The guy is still in the race though, and I think that's something that we do have to remember, of course, as well. Could go either way. Both sides, of course, according to various reporters, are approaching the end of the bid. They think that their bid is going to be accepted, so it will be definitely very, very interesting what happens in the next couple of weeks. I'm expecting a big week for United news. I'm really looking forward to it. Lucky Singh is saying Martial scores, but his body just lets him down. Yeah, I mean that's it. I think it's just I think it's just over and over again. It's just the constant injuries. I think it's really derailed his career as a player. It's sad to see. We've seen a lot of very, very talented players have their careers ruined by injury, and I think it is very unfortunate. And Martial seems to be another one. I mean, the guy did come to us with all the talent in the world. He'd won the Golden Boy, and it just hasn't happened for him. It is unfortunate. It is quite sad, but I just don't think it's going to happen. Jared is asking as well, when is the takeover announcement going to be? I mean, I wish I knew, man. I really, really wish I did. I mean, if I knew, I would definitely tell you guys. Unfortunately, we don't. We do just have to react as we go along, look at the news, piece things together. I think we are all wise enough now to this sales progress where we can look at the reports and kind of put things together in our head. Like when we look at Qatar, like the Glazers staying with Qatar a couple of weeks ago, another Qatari bid goes in. Sheikh Jassim saying he'll walk away from negotiations if his bid isn't accepted on Friday. And now all of a sudden they're interested again in his bid. And think as well, you see the same thing like with Ratcliffe. You're looking, oh, he'll keep Joel and Avram Glazer on, but he'll let the other ones go. And Joel and Avram wanted to stay, and the other Glazer siblings, they wanted to go. So everybody's playing a lot of games. Everybody is doing their own thing, and it definitely is a very long, drawn-out process. I hope it's going to be over soon. Who else is down in the comments? Titania saying, Sheikh Jassim is what United fans, but it could be Ratcliffe or Glazers preferring to stay. Be honest, it's too close to call right now. It is very, very tough to call. We see Daz is down there as well. Rice seems gone. Caicedo is a must. I mean, I would love Moses Caicedo. I mean, if genuinely, if we're talking 70 million for Mason Mount, I would rather spend 10 million more and buy Caicedo. That's what I would like to do. That's what I think would be the best possible option. Big T is down there as well, saying, go. The Coventry striker could be worth a punt. What do you think? I cannot pronounce his name, man, but I have watched. I think maybe. I mean, we do need forward options. I think there's certainly players to be had in the Championship. Very good players. And even if they're not in the Premier League, doesn't make them a bad player. So I think there definitely is players currently in the Championship, players who have been relegated with Leicester, Southampton, with, well, not with Leeds. Those guys are different. Who else is down there? Lucky Singh says, the USA basketball team needs money, same as United. I mean, yeah, I mean, we need money, definitely, 100%. Who else is down there? Was that Bowl, is it? Bowl or Ball? Thoughts on McAllister to Liverpool? I mean, McAllister's a good player. I think he's a very, very good player. He will be good for Liverpool. His work rate, the way he kind of plays, he will add a lot to that team. They, of course, need to go out, bring in as much midfielders as they can. They potentially need a whole new midfield. McAllister for 35 million, that's a brilliant deal. We couldn't do it. No doubt in my mind, Manchester United would be incapable of making that deal happen. Who else is down there? Lucky Singh says, we sell Maguire or McTominay first. I hope so, because you're looking there at 2 players, potentially raising £40 million in additional transfer funds. And if our budget's 100 million, 120, that will make a big, big difference. That could be the difference in buying a pretty good player and buying a top level player. I think that is definitely something important. Mubiru is saying Sheikh Jassim will win the bid, I believe. John from Uganda, Africa, thank you very much for joining with us. Oh, it is, sorry, I think it's like a surname and then it's John. Good to see you, John. Thank you very much for joining in with us. Honestly, like, this is one of the best things about this channel, man. Even though it is small, it's like you guys are literally all over the world, and I'm just sitting here in my house in Ireland talking to you guys, so it's pretty awesome. So if anybody does want to join in with the community, please do consider hitting that sub button. And if Big T is in the chat, I promise the Discord will probably go live tomorrow. I promise. You can hold it. You can hold me to that on tomorrow's stream if it isn't live. Lucky Singh is saying, we go players, we grow. Yeah, we do need to let players go to grow as a team. Absolutely. Big T saying, just thinking, we need players Erik Ten mold alongside world-class players. Yeah, completely agree. I think Erik Ten Hag knows what he wants from this team. I think he look at the likes of Garnacho, look at the likes of Kobe Minu coming through, Zidane, Iqbal. He will be able to mold them into his type players. I think in terms of what we brought in last season, because we were very underprepared in terms of our transfers, a lot of them were players Erik Ten Hag knew very well. He had worked with Eriksen when Eriksen first came back from his heart problem after the Euros. He went to Ajax to train. Of course, he had Lisandro Martinez. He had Anthony at the club. Everybody knew Casemiro anyway. Tyrell Malacia, Dutch league player. So, I mean, everybody we brought in, we knew. I think he will want to bring players in who he can mould into what he wants as a team. I think what we do like about Erik Ten Hag is it isn't so set in stone. His build-up structure, it can be fluid, it can be changed, it is adaptable. We've seen it this season. I mean, we went out in the first 2 matches. We tried to play Brentford and Brighton at a possession game. We weren't capable. We switched it up. We went more counter-attacking. We picked up points. Erik Ten Hag, he's an adaptable manager, but he will have his principles. He will want certain things to be done in his way, in his image, and he definitely will try to shape that team. As well, as a Liverpool fan, of course, he's United, but just have more respect for you than City. Thank you very much for that, man. I mean, I have a lot more respect for Liverpool than City. I mean, City do cheat and 115 charges. So, I mean, yeah, that's absolutely right. Big T says, do you think Leeds would sell us Melia? No more Leeds players, man. I'm not a fan. Joe, Melia, I think, so kind of an unfortunate guy. I mean, he did make some really bad holders, but I think his confidence was low. He has been conceding a lot of goals because Leeds were having like 20 shots against him every match. So he is always going to concede goals. Daz is saying, I'm expecting mad news Friday night. Would be interesting, man. I would absolutely love, I mean, I would love news tomorrow. I would love news in 5 minutes. If it's going to be Friday, it's going to be Friday. I just want it to be as soon as possible. That's what I want. Who else is down there? Jinwa is saying, do you think De Gea will take a pay cut and stay? Because I am here for the worst situations. It's natural that humans will want more money. I mean, you do have to ask yourselves that. I mean, David De Gea had offers from the Saudi Pro League to go there. He did reject them, so it isn't a question of money. We know that his wife has, in the past, made bad comments about Manchester, doesn't enjoy living there. It could be argued that he might look to go back to Spain. It could be good for him to settle down with his family. He is 32 now. Of course, the rest of his family will, of course, be in Spain. I mean, it could happen. It depends on suitors. It depends on what happens. United's deal is on the table for him. He can sign that at any time, probably, and it just needs ratified by the club. Who else is down there? Lucky Singh says I would take it tomorrow, and Boniface is a very good number 9. Not quite. I actually haven't heard of Boniface. Who does he play for, Irfan? I'll have a look on him. Like, no doubt about it. Big T says rules are off after we were linked to Pickford. Nobody is beyond the realms of possibility. Nobody is beyond the realms of possibility. It is Manchester United. It is a transfer window. If you guys do see a rumour of Wesley Sneijder coming out of retirement, or Nicholas Gaetan, maybe Mehdi Benatia is still on a plane going to Manchester, according to Jim White, we will see nonsense reports. Anything could happen. So Jordan Pickford, it might not even be the strangest move. I mean, I saw us linked to William Saliba today. I mean, that's never going to happen, man. Like, come on. But it is just for clicks. I mean, you guys are wise that everybody is wise that they said it on Sky Sports themselves. When Manchester United's name is put in a story, all of a sudden it gets more clicks, it sells more papers, it gets more views on YouTube. That's what people do. They put United in a story, and teams do the same. Agents will say, if you're negotiating with Liverpool, oh, United offered him more money to try to get money for their client. It's just United seem to get thrown into everything. I think it's a consequence of the Woodward era, where we just sort of went out and threw stupid money at players. And it's sort of a consequence of how we've been run as a club. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. Liverpool, I mean, Alexis McAllister, 35 million. We could never do that. Luis Diaz, 40 million. We would probably have paid about 80 million pound for Alexis McAllister. And it's because Brighton would know that they could get us from us. Lucky Singh says Man City should give us Bernardo Silva. I mean, Bernardo Silva is absolutely fantastic. It will be interesting to see if he stays or goes, of course. I would very much like it if he did leave, because that would be a top level player out of City's team. But of course, they'll probably just go buy somebody else. It's what Man City do, of course. But it will be interesting to see if he leaves or not. Who else is down there in the comments? Let me see. Oh, it's just if he leaves, some Lucky Singh. Yep, thank you very much. I mean, if he does leave, it will be interesting. It will be interesting to see what Pep does. I mean, it's Man City. They could probably buy 3 Bernardo Silvas if they want, but it will definitely be a shift. He is a very established player at Man City. Irfan is saying Pershers is a very good centre back. I mean, he was very highly he was very highly rated at Ajax at one point in time, and he was kind of seen as a natural successor to Matthias de Ligt when he first broke through. It would be interesting to see where he goes in his career. Will be one to keep an eye out, of course. Jared is saying Mikel Aluga can make a good striker for United. He's out of contract. We could try him. Alunga, sorry, not Aluga. I've no glasses on. I actually do need glasses, but it's because my lights reflect off it. So if I misread your name or if I misread something in the chat, I do apologize for that one, of course. I think United need any kind of striker we can get. I think Marcus Thuram, free from Borussia Mönchengladbach, would be a good free signing to bring in as a striker. I think Hugo Ekitike could be a shout on loan from PSG. We need to bring in firepower. We need to bring in somebody. And if we're working on a smaller budget, free agents, loan market, it's as important. It is very important that we look at it. Lucky Singh says John Stones was terrific in the final for the Champions League. I mean, yeah, absolutely brilliant performance from John Stones. Definitely a player who's made a lot of progress this season and across the last few seasons. Big T says, there we go. There we go. Confirming the surprise transfer of Erling Haaland to Manchester United. This is a complete shock. Questionable travel, closest rivals. I'll give you 115. You love to see it, man. Absolutely love to see it. And of course, Erling Haaland could have been Manchester United's if we listened to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer at Mold, because all he said to United, I've got a 14-year-old guy, 15-year-old guy here playing for the men's team, scoring like 30 goals. Are you interested in him? Fabrizio Germano. Will be interesting to see what happens. Of course, I mean, so it's the fact we could have had Haaland not once but twice, and we didn't get him. So I mean, if it just goes to show you guys, the way Manchester United have been run, the way the Glazers have had a crap board in charge for many years, and it is a real shame that we have missed out on players such as this. I mean, it's a shame. Hopefully, with new ownership, things can change. I'm hoping, as everybody's saying in the chat, pretty soon, hopefully we will get an update on the owners. Hopefully we will have some breaking news, some developments this week. That's what we want to see. That's what we need to see. I'm praying for it. I'm sure you guys are as well. I am very fed up with the ongoing talking point. Irfan is saying, can United win the Champions League next year? I mean, I doubt it. I would love to say yes. We are in it. So, I mean, by the very fact we are in it, we could win it. I mean, it will be interesting to see how we get on. A lot depends on what we do in the transfer window. Thing is, with the Champions League, it is not always the best team that wins it. In a league season, yes, the best team always wins the league because you play the most amount of matches, everybody, and it works out over a season that the best team always wins the league. That's pretty much an established fact. In terms of Champions League, it's a cup competition. Anything can go wrong on a night for a team, for a player, and if you're in the competition, you can win it. I don't think we will win it, but I think there is potential. I think we can at least get out of the group stages, get into the quarterfinals. So I think that's a realistic target. He also down there in the comments, Lucky Singh is saying Phil Foden improving for Pep Guardiola a lot. Yes, he's just a brilliant footballer, so talented. Big T is saying, what do you think will happen with City? Phillips has ruined. Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. Calvin Phillips, I mean, he's still in the England squad somehow. It does sort of speak to Gareth Southgate's nepotism. I can see people joining in on the stream, so thank you very much for joining with us, guys. Any thoughts, get them into the comments. We're asking you guys in the poll, who will win the takeover race? Will it be Sheikh Jassim? Will it be Jim Ratcliffe? Can Sheikh Jassim win the race? That's what I'm asking you guys tonight, based on everything that has come out across the weekend. Let me know on the poll. Ashid is saying, need a complete overhaul of United's board. Yes, something we've been saying for years. We have non-footballing people making footballing decisions. That's unacceptable. We have bankers running this football club for too long. And now we've got some sort of level of director of football, but he's just not good enough. I mean, we need to improve on that as well. Lucky Singh says, we'll have to make a lot of progress. We've all seen Man City. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. We have to go out and improve. We've seen what City can do this season. Let's see what we can do next year. I think a big transfer window, more time for Erik Ten Hag. He can shape this team into something he wanted to look like, into something more like his image. That's what I think he's capable of doing, of course. So with that in mind, guys, I'm going to leave the stream here. So if you guys are new, please consider hitting that sub button. Helps me out so much. Helps grow the channel and the community. I can actually see Daniel in there. Good to see you as well, man. We are just ending the stream here. So, guys, thank you very much for joining with us, and I will see you guys tomorrow.